On this edition of Motorcycle Experience, an OPP constable tackles a slalom course in the snow. While on this season's Ultimate Ride, after 2 solid days of riding, we call it just south of Saint-Anne-de-Mont in Quebec. Then, during our Winging It segment, touring expert Ken Edick significantly upgrades his Gold Wings factory toolkit. And Shifting Gears editor Jenn Martin takes a closer look at all that technology. All this and more as Motovan presents Motorcycle Experience.
Hello and welcome to Motorcycle Experience, the voice of motorcyclists everywhere. I'm Dave Hatchin. This week we'll kick off our show by sampling an all-new middleweight all-rounder from the folks at Honda Canada, the CBR 650F.
When it comes to complete, no-gaps motorcycle lineups, I'm pretty sure Honda Canada holds the current record for building virtually something for everyone. From 50cc Jarnos and Rutgesses, all the way up to 1800cc Gold Wings, and everything in between. And speaking of in between, meet the meat in the middle. Honda's all-new CBR 650F. A true new from the ground up middleweight all-rounder that proves there's nothing boring about sandwiches. I mean, check out the 650cc inline 4, which Honda boasts has been tuned for both fuel economy and low-end punch. And yep, there's a very snazzy 4-into-1 underslung muffler tucked under a trick aluminum swing arm out back. Honda Canada recently invited a pile of motorcycle journalists down to Roebling Road Raceway in Georgia to sample the 650F. Delivered buffet style amongst a platter of other more sporting models. And quicker than you can say pass the mustard, much to everyone's surprise, the 650F turned out to be pretty tasty out on the racetrack. Just ask this veteran motorcycle journalist.
So Colin, I'm curious, why do you think they brought this machine down to this racetrack to launch it?
I think it's important to understand that this bike is a versatile, comfortable, useful bike that kind of throws back to the sports bikes of 20 years ago. Those are all important messages, and consumers need to be aware of where this bike positions itself. But the thing that's easy to lose in the mix, there's a lot of bikes that fall into the category I just described. They don't all have a high revving 4-cylinder 650cc power plant, and that is a fun thing to have and is a joy forever.
Right. Well, let's talk about that motor for a second, because out on the street it is just so smooth and it's got lots of torque for a middleweight. What's it like to ride on the track?
I think it's interesting to ride it on the track because you can get lulled into a false sense of relaxation because the motor is buttery smooth, the clutch works very well, the gearbox is all those good things. But you miss out that if you let it spin, it's fast. And of course, the racetrack is the place to find that out. So I think the whole point of this bike being at the racetrack is to remind you it's actually a decent performing bike. And of course, 20 years ago, this would have been a hardcore sports bike. Right.
So it's got lots of punch. I mean, it was born and bred on the track. We know that. The braking, though, what did you think of the brakes? Because again, plenty of brakes for the street.
Oh yeah, and it's super powerful and they don't fade. And you know, we're going flat out on this bike as though it were a race bike. So you're not going to have any issue in terms of the performance. Overall, for street riding, it's a really good sports bike.
What also makes it a really great bike for the street is that saddle. It's just so comfortable to ride. Again, how did you find it today being out on the track?
Well, it's funny because the CBR 600 F2, 1991 motorcycle, almost 25 years ago, benchmark in terms of comfort. Bike that won, bike that was fast, bike that did all kinds of great things, but stood out particularly because it was so comfortable. This is essentially that riding position. I think if we measured it, it would be within a couple of centimeters and a degree, and that was the magic number. And for a long time, people used to say, this bike's comfortable, it's like a CBR 600 F2, and that is the same layout. The seats maybe even a little nicer, and the passenger seat for this kind of bike is quite good. Put a grab rail on and you're all set.
So Colin, as I said earlier, I was surprised to see this here at the racetrack. I mean, it's really not sort of designed to be a track bike, but you said really when you got it out there, nothing really disappointed you. It worked quite well.
It's not a race bike, particularly because it's a 650 and it doesn't fill a class, but it's a capable bike. If you wanted to do a couple of track days and that was an opportunity, this bike would do you well. You might change the tires, might want to do a little bit of work on the suspension, but you could ride it just the way it is. That's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting way to show you how strong the performance is, particularly the mid-range, with the slightly bigger displacement and tuned towards mid-range. When you pick up the throttle when the bike's leaned all the way over, it's actually quite impressive how the power delivers and how quickly it delivers. And that's the kind of thing that whether you're talking about sport bike riding, back roads riding, or on the track, that is an actual physical thing that makes a big difference in terms of how much you're going to enjoy your motorcycle.
Right. So who would you recommend this bike to?
Well, I suppose the first person is somebody who needs to do a lot of different things with one motorcycle, has a little bit of experience, doesn't want to have a small displacement, twin or single, wants to have a little more motorcycle, feel like they've moved up. I mean, I don't think it would be a great beginner's bike. It certainly could be, but you'd have to be physically on the reasonably large adult size for that to work. And it's reasonably light, but it's not super light like a 300 or a 500.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who'd like to have this kind of performance, but really these days need it to be more versatile than a hardcore sport bike. So I think it's ideal for those kind of people. And we don't talk a lot about the classic Japanese 4-cylinder engine, but it is still a delightful power plant. It's a lot of fun, and it's something I've spent my whole life with. I grew up in the early days of that configuration, so it's always fun to ride a really smooth, well-built, nicely tuned 600 class-ish sport bike engine.
Right. Well, I'm glad to see you were having a lot of fun out there, Colin.
It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Hang in there, we've got plenty more experience still ahead. Next, touring expert Ken Edick doesn't wing it when it comes to toolkits and touring. While Norm Wells and I wrap up our second day down in Gaspe after cutting up through the mountainous middle of the peninsula. Stay with us. Portions of this broadcast are brought to you by Harley-Davidson, BMW Motorrad, and Honda Canada.
Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and it's time now to get some sage touring advice from a million-miler who knows a thing or two about going the distance. But before we do that, let's catch up with Norm Wells and this week's Ultimate Ride. Today we're wrapping up day 2 of our tour in the Gaspe.
So as you know, this season during our annual fall ride, we're in the province of Quebec, exploring the scenic Gaspe Peninsula, with our ultimate destination, Percé Rock, programmed into the GPS. We started out on this adventure after picking up a couple of BMW K1600 GTs from a BMW dealer in Quebec City. Norm and I had been making our way east until we reached Rimouski, whereupon Norm decided we should turn south and pay a visit to his sister in Matapedia on the Quebec-New Brunswick border. After a quick bite, we then rode the southern shore of the Gaspe along Highway 132 with the Baie de Chalet on our right before cutting back north at New Richmond, up Highway 299 through the mountainous midsection of the peninsula.
Well, Norm, it's almost the end of day 2 on our ultimate ride in the Gaspe, and I gotta say it's pushing 5 p.m. and I'm bushed. We've been riding a lot today.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good long day.
Yeah.
Fun long day.
Yeah, well, it's been so much fun that we're not quite to where we're supposed to be right now. We're still probably about an hour away from Saint-Anne-des-Monts, and we're pounding our way up number 299 north and cutting right through the heart of Gaspe, if you will, and wow, what a great road.
Absolutely beautiful. And it's actually 2 roads, because the first part of it, we were on the valley, nice and smooth, long, sweeping corners.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden we got into, right at almost the 70-kilometer mark, we started getting into a little bit rougher pavement, and the river disappeared, and now we're going up over the mountain as opposed to at the bottom of the mountain. It's chilled off quite a bit.
Yeah, it's getting chilly for sure. And yeah, that first 70 clicks fantastic, just sweeping, and as you mentioned, there was this beautiful river on our left the whole way, some gorgeous vistas. I wish we had a little more time to stop and take some more pictures, but fantastic road, and just the entire day, you know, starting out this morning in Rimouski, heading east on 132. It's just, we've had a little bit of everything, really.
Yeah, this morning was like a very typical Quebec kind of ride that we've done in the past. You know, just pine trees on either side and just very beautiful, and a few mountain views here and there. And then we got the ocean view, or the bay view, along that for a little while. And then now we're just into something completely unique. And I think you were mentioning it looked like something on one trip you had taken.
Well, it reminded me, the last 45 minutes have reminded me of the Yukon. Definitely north of Yellowknife. Just the way that river was running on our left-hand side and the trees, and you know, we didn't see any homes, we haven't seen any gas stations, service stations, nothing. It's just the road has been ours, and I think that's what's been the most fun. It's been so quiet out here.
Yeah, no traffic either.
Yeah. So a couple more clicks up the road, Saint-Anne-des-Monts. We're going to call it a day up there.
Absolutely. We have our place, nice warm bed waiting for us up there.
Hot shower.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then we'll head out on day 3 tomorrow and push right into Gaspe.
That's the prize.
Okay, man. So far, another ultimate ride. Be sure to tune in next week and continue to follow along this, our 14th Ultimate Tour. Meanwhile, Honda Canada is marking a very impressive milestone this summer as they celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Goldwing. And as a tribute to that, we're celebrating the art of touring with a little segment we call Winging It. Ken, this week on Winging It, you want to talk about long distance touring. We're talking about those trips that take 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a go. You said to me you bring more than the average toolkit, and I'm shocked to see what you've just pulled out of your wing. You take all this with you?
I do, and you know what? I've probably paid for it in gas mileage over the years, but I've very rarely not been able to keep us going, or myself, with some of the toys that I brought. Like I say, if I'm not on a flatbed, it's still a good trip.
Right, so when you say us, you're talking about yourself and everybody else in your riding party, right? You travel a lot with a lot of other wing riders.
Yeah, it's a camaraderie that I always enjoy. Everybody needs to get out on their own, but we can also do individual rides as a group. It sounds a little ironic, but this is where we're going to be tonight. Take your own route and get some alone time.
Right, so if something goes wrong in the electrical department, it looks to me like you're ready for anything.
Well, I'd like to think I'm ready for anything, but so far the source would be if your battery bails on you.
Yeah.
It's the heartbeat of everything else electrical on your bike. And the electrical load on bikes today is getting far much better with LED and HID lighting, way more than it used to be.
Right.
But if your battery's in trouble, sometimes getting it jump started by somebody else might get you to the next town where you can rectify the problem better. So you got to have some way of sourcing off of somebody else. It could be a car, it could be a bike, but small cables like this are easier to pack than the big ones for a car.
Okay, so you get your little jumper cables, test light and voltmeter. What are you doing with that?
If we suspect something, and I said I'm not an expert in electronics, but I know where to stop before I'm dangerous.
Yeah.
I want to validate whether I'm getting proper output from an electrical system. I know my alternator should be putting out 13, 14 volts at 2,000 RPM or better. If not, this will tell me, so I know where part of the culprit could be. If I just need to know if there's continuity between this light socket and that light socket, it's just a point and clip, and when the little light comes on, you don't need numbers, you just need to know that the circuit is intact.
Wow.
So just a little tool that really doesn't take much room.
Okay, do you carry anything on your Goldwing specifically that allows you to monitor your electrical system?
Yeah, I guess one of the biggest things with the electrical load is I installed an analog voltage gauge, because I'd like to watch my problem develop if I'm going to have one, as opposed to an idiot light that comes on and then it's game over. It's probably the last amount of power it had to illuminate on your dashboard, and now you're at the side of the road.
Right.
I can see that on the go with an analog gauge.
Wow. And then finally, I guess everything is firing electrically, but you may have forgotten about your fuel for some reason and you've run out of fuel. I see you've got the handy dandy gas card.
It's a newer style of a siphon hose, but any hose will do. Anybody that's done it knows it doesn't matter whether you're middle grade, low grade, or premium. It tastes bad when you have to siphon up gas from your buddy's tank.
Right.
So this has a mechanism of a ball bearing inside. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yep.
But as you start that will start the suction feed down to a source. Now you may have to find a a bottle in the ditch or something to put it into and then transport that into the other bike. But your source gas tank must be higher than the empty point of the other end of the hose.
Right.
But very, very handy. Again, takes up very little space. We've all come close to running out of fuel or had out of fuel, and then you're waiting for what's next best.
Clearly, you have been thinking about how to avoid breaking down when you're out on the open road. And you've got yourself covered both with the electronics and the fuel. Nice job.
Thank you.
Still ahead, round 6 in the Ultimate Yamaha Challenge. And toss away those old drum brakes and hand signals. We'll look at just how high-tech our motorcycles really have become. Stay with us.
Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch. It's time now for this week's installment in the Yamaha Ultimate Challenge. Today, OPP Constable Anthony Mann is staring down challenge number 6.
All right, so this summer we're putting the riding skills of one OPP Constable Anthony Mann to the test by putting him through a series of motorcycle riding challenges designed by Matt Fletcher at Yamaha Motor Canada. Matt hopes this friendly competition will show us how we can all become better riders when we practice our sport, even, as you're about to see, if that means practicing during a freak snowstorm.
Well, guys, welcome to Ultimate Challenge number 6. We've got the R3 warming up here on the tarmac, and Mother Nature's cooperating because, you know, we always say if you're going to practice your motorcycle skills, do it in the snow.
It is what it is.
It is
today,
what it
that's
is.
for sure.
Okay, Matt, you got the challenge for us?
Yep, we've got the high-speed cone weave.
All right, well, we've laid out a course for you. You have to do this course in 30 seconds or less. Any thoughts about how you're going to do that?
Aside from thinking warm, happy thoughts, I'm certainly going to be utilizing my rear brake, feathering the clutch, almost using it as if I would a throttle. Certainly using a good eye lead, so looking 3-4 cones ahead, and keeping good body positioning on the bike as well.
Using your body to help start those turns.
That's right.
Right. All right, suit up. The weather's with us. Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, Anthony, here we are. Matt's got the timer, 30 seconds or less, okay?
Okay.
Don't touch the ground, and don't take longer than 30 seconds.
Sounds good.
Good luck. "27 seconds. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Wow, right on the mark. You made that look so easy. What was your key to success?
A couple things: being strong on the foot pegs, using counter steering, and again the clutch, using the clutch to slow down and assist in maneuvering. So,
Wow, you made that look so easy. Well done.
thank you.
Okay.
Well, I gotta say, here at the halfway point in our challenge, the OPP's man easily handled Matt's latest cone course. Now, I hope you were watching closely because that segment really was all about practicing your throttle and clutch control while keeping your eyes up, using the rear brake only, and shifting your butt off the saddle. And as always, this is a skill we highly recommend you practice at least once a summer. And now that we've got you all fired up, stay tuned because next, professional riding instructor Jenn Martin takes a closer look at the most recent developments in motorcycle technology. Portions of this broadcast are brought to you by Harley-Davidson, BMW Motorrad, and Honda Canada. Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and now that we're all fired up and ready to go for a ride, let's just quickly wrap up our show by paying a visit to the shop to see what's new under the hood. Joining us now is the Chief Riding Instructor at Georgian College, Jenn Martin.
You know, Jen, this week we want to talk about technology in motorcycles, and more specifically this Road Glide, which I had a chance to sample last fall because of Project Rushmore. Harley-Davidson wanted to show off all the latest technology that they'd stuffed into this particular motorcycle. You know, Rushmore, the project, they took feedback from all the customers, jammed it all into a bucket, and then this is what came out. And it's pretty impressive when we look at the technology on this motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, they're listening to us, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, for this particular, I mean, we have the infotainment center here. So, you know, you have your GPS and you have access to it with one touch. 6.5-inch screen.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive in terms of the size and the color and the definition of that. But it's also this whole infotainment center allows you to take things like your mobile device. You can plug it in. There's a little pocket there with a USB connector, so you can plug hardwire your mobile device, which gives you access obviously to your music. You can Bluetooth to the device as well. I just think it's really cool. I mean,
the communication
system allows you to, you know, mount this obviously inside your helmet. Plug in, and now you've got voice command. You can talk to the system. You can make phone calls. It's pretty impressive.
Yes, it is. I mean, there's other things that you know, if you didn't have a system such as this, you can have mounts.
Right. I saw you dig this one out.
Yeah, I did.
You can mount this to your motorcycle. Put your mobile device in here, call up your GPS.
Yeah, and it's waterproof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And if you didn't have, you know, using, you know, your mobile device for GPS, you can actually get and purchase a GPS system.
Specifically for a motorcycle.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty much endless. We've come a long way from the days of quarters for phone calls and maps to find out where we're going. There's even, I mean, when we talk about the technology, the key fob systems, right?
The security system is incredible, and we want that for our motorcycles. You know, when you walk away, you want to know that it's secure, and you can walk away.
Yeah, so stick this in your pocket, walk up, you can start your motorcycle. When you're done, walk away. The security system is armed. Awesome. They've gone so far as the new LED lighting systems.
For visibility's sake.
What else with Rushmore? The ABS braking system.
Yeah, and that technology is impressive. With this particular system as well, you've got the one touch. Everything is one touch. So they're listening to the riders that, you know, you don't necessarily want to disrobe or take everything off to access things on the motorcycle. So you have the one touch.
Right.
To open up your saddlebags. As I said, the one touch here to bring this up. Even the gas. Look at that.
Incredible. Well, right down to gloves now that are one touch, so you can touch the screen when you get off your motorcycle with your mobile device.
So you don't have to be fidgeting with everything now.
Mind-blowing. So all these things to consider when you go shopping for a motorcycle. Don't be surprised by the amount of technology that's out there.
Yes, exactly.
Very cool. You know, there's no shortage of chrome on this bike. Anyway, that's it for this week's program, folks. We're all out of time. Until next week, you know where you can find me. Keep your feet on the pegs and your right hand cranked. Bye for now.